I'd like to say straight from the start that this is not rocket science. It's fairly easy to be healthy while you're away, as long as you follow some basic steps and look at the main issues. Now, the first thing you've got to think about is where you're going, what you're doing, what sort of activities you're going to do while you're away, what the temperature of the country is going to be, and the sort of terrain. It's all about prevention, this, and really the place to start is by getting some good, clear advice with health. Best place to start is either a travel clinic or your GP. Now, certainly GP practices, they're very busy people, and what they're going to cover are the main issues. What vaccinations do you need? Do you need malarial tablets? And these subjects are important because anything you can be immunised against, you can bet your bottom dollar that they are going to lay you out if you happen to catch those diseases. So they are important, but they're not necessarily the things that are going to protect you while you're away. The other thing I'd like to put in right away is that what people need to do is get their teeth checked out. A lot of people forget about this, and quite frankly there's nothing worse than getting in country, finding you need a filling, and then hunting around for a dentist. Alright, now what are your biggest problems? Let's try and break down what's going to happen to you while you're away. Well, believe it or not, your biggest problem is road accidents. Over 50% of people that have a travel health problem while they're away, it's road accident related. And these are actually pretty easy things to guard yourself against right from the start. Learn the rules of the road. You know, we drive on the left here, other places are on the right. If you're going to get a taxi, look at your taxi driver. Is he totally sober or a little bit drunk? Check the tyres out of the vehicles you're going to get into, and just have a basic sense about you of the roads and the traffic on them. Now, just these basic things are halfway to protecting people from getting into a problem while they're away. Next thing to look at is infections. That accounts for a lot of the problems. Within infections, you've got the risks carried by food and water, you've got contact and inhalation with other people, and you've got those insect-borne diseases. Again, some of them are covered by immunisation, but immunisation only covers you for about 4% of the possible problems you're going to have while you're away. So there's a lot more to learn. Let's look at food and water. Very simple rules here. Watch what you put in your mouth. If it's freshly cooked and hot, that food is going to be safe to eat, and it doesn't matter how exotic it is. If it's been standing around, so buffet food, salads, things that aren't being prepared properly, then just avoid them if you possibly can. With water, very simple. Anything that's been boiled for about 5 minutes is perfectly safe to drink. Bottled water, fine, as long as it's in date, so check that. The only thing I'd like to put in here with bottled water is you're away for a long time, you're going to get through a lot of bottled water. You've got an expense to consider, and you've got an impact on the environment to consider. Unlike England, they don't necessarily recycle bottles, so the piles of plastic bottles that are piling up around the world is quite horrific. The other thing to do is use purification liquids or tablets. You can purify water very simply, just taking some iodine tincture into some water and let it stand for 30 minutes will actually purify it. The biggest thing I think with water is to make sure that people drink enough of it. And this is often led by the bottle you've got. Most people will travel with a 1 litre bottle, and really, especially if you're on a placement or you're working abroad, 1 litre of water is not enough. You need at least a 2 litre bottle or 2 1 litre bottles. Leading on from bottles, we talked about making sure food is hot before you eat it. Well, the other way you're going to get ill from food is from the utensils. So the spoon you put to your mouth, the cup you put to your lips should be clean. Now you can either, of course, clean them as you go along. If you're out on the streets, you can use wet ones to clean around the rims, or you can take your own spoon and cup with. Both of these will guard you against a lot of diseases and gut infections. Now, some of these gut infections are just simple traveller's diarrhea, but you could get the nastier forms that will lead on to needing antibiotics if you get them. There's loads of different purifiers and things you can use, but they actually aren't as important as they might seem. Some simple iodine, just to drop into your water, is enough to purify it for what the sort of thing you're doing. What's probably more important is that you've got a decent water bottle, because people will often go away with a small water bottle and not have enough on them to keep them rehydrated. So a good 2-litre bladder, something soft that you can pack away if you want something really good, or a very simple pack away one. Just the main thing is that you've got 2 litres of water there. All right. Now the other issue is what you can catch off the utensils that you're going to be using. So one clever idea is to take your own cup and your own spoon with you, because then you know you're protected. Okay, we've talked about food and water, we've talked about various other issues. Now, next really is insects. Going to countries where insects can be a problem, you've got malaria to think about, dengue fever, and just the general annoyance. And the problem we've really got here is that in this country we are incredibly poorly educated in avoiding getting bitten, very simply because we don't have diseases spread by insects. So how do you do it? It's good use of insect repellents, basic bite avoidance. Now, the best ones to use are ones containing DEET. This is because they're the most widely used. But the real problem is how quickly we apply insect repellents to the skin. So it doesn't matter which ones you choose, really, as long as you use them frequently enough. Insect repellents can sweat off very quickly. In fact, in most cases, you'd have to reapply them once an hour to make sure you get good protection. And an hour is not a long time, which is why a lot of us think, well, this insect repellent just isn't working. It is working, it's just that we're not putting it on quick enough. Okay, the really important thing with insect repellents is to make sure you carry it with you all the time. This will sweat off in an hour. Any of them will if it's hot and humid. So make sure you've got a bottle with you in your pocket or in your bag all the time. If we do that properly, then there won't be a problem with getting bitten. That's insects. You can protect yourself pretty well. Next thing I want to look at is acclimatisation. And that's because it is really overlooked. People are going to very hot and humid places in the tropics, or indeed going to high altitude. And it'll actually take the body about 3 weeks to properly acclimatise. How do you get around that? Well, it's fairly simple. Don't rush around too much. Take it easy for the first few days in a country and drink plenty of fluids. If you need to, you can get electrolyte tablets or sachets, and these mixed with water will immediately raise your water levels and make you feel a lot better. We just open this up. It's nice and clear, see everything you've got. And the 2 items that are the most important things in here are, one, a really good antiseptic, tiny little bottle. This is a Bessine antiseptic paint, and you'll find that's much better to use if it's hot and humid than the little creams you get everywhere else. The second most important item is rehydration salts. So if you feel you're getting dehydrated, you take one of these in a cup of water and it will lift you right back up again. And then some basic painkillers. You're never going to cover everything, but the idea is to have a broad range of things that are going to cover you for about 2 days. There isn't many places you can go in the world now where you can't get restocked in a day or so. I want to talk to you about hygiene, because like with your cups and spoons, keeping your hands clean and yourself clean is going to make you stay healthy. This is a no water wash, alcohol based, so if you find you can't get to your cup and spoon and you've got to eat with your hands, you just put a tiny little drop of this on. Okay, rub it in, and you'll find that will kill all the bacteria on your skin. So that's very useful to keep on you.